We bring in Fox News strategic analyst Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters to discuss. Sanctions are like economic strangulation. We have a bunch in already before today's round. Are they working?
They're working. They're working slowly, but they are working. Now, whether or not they will be enough ultimately to end the nuke and missile programs in North Korea remains an open question. But North Korea is hurting. The sanctions announced today are all good. They are on ships, on shipping maritime companies, on trading corporations and companies. And by hitting them, you really are making it harder to continue smuggling oil and other goods into North Korea. Now, the problem, Liz, is that twofold. First of all, on a practical level, it's one thing to sanction all these vessels and companies by name, but are we willing to stop, board, and search ships on the high seas if we find them transferring oil? And are we willing to impound ships that might have Russian owners or Chinese owners, or which we don't know which flags are going to be? So there are problems. But the even greater problem is this. While the sanctions are good and they are helping demonstrably, we're treating the symptoms, not the disease.
Okay, but here's one issue. I think, tightening the ligature is a good idea. But
yes.
Who knows when you don't have Russia involved? Russia was not mentioned at all. We do know that some of their, documentation shows that Russia in the past has helped them build some of these nuclear missiles and these rockets. Why would Russia not be mentioned?
Because our administration just has this thing going on about they won't criticize Vladimir Putin for anything. But even with the sanctions violations, Russians have been violating them. Russian ships, Russian companies could not violate these sanctions without at least tacit approval from Vladimir Putin. It doesn't work that way in Russia. And the same thing goes for China, by the way. President Xi has been allowing violations of the sanctions. And so my point is that while the smuggling itself is a symptom, the disease when it comes to sanctions is that China and Russia are all too have been all too willing to subvert them.
Okay.
Now, all that said, the sanctions are biting. Keep them up. Just drive them home.
It was more than a week ago, just over a week ago, Colonel, that you were with us when that horrific shooting in Florida at the high school happened. And as you joined us, we watched this unfold, and then when the dust had settled, 17 innocents had been murdered. Today, on the front page of the New York Post, as the president had said, armed teachers, you got the front page mention here for your op-ed, ban assault rifles. And I want to just do a tear of what you said within this. You said these are military weapons. Their purpose is to kill human beings. They're not used for hunting, lousy for target shooting, but they're excellent tools for mass murder. And then you go on to say the demagogues who grow wealthy by convincing responsible gun owners that some shadowy government agency can't wait to seize their deer rifles will have a great deal to answer for on Judgment Day. You are pro-Second Amendment. You have
bet.
guns on your desk where you wrote this op-ed. Do you think it'll happen, banning AR-15s?
No, it won't. Because Congress is craven, and not just Republicans, and Democrats and Republicans alike from certain districts. They have put their re-election chances above the lives of American children. How can they live with themselves? The look, I own guns. I grew up around guns. My dad was a champion ski shot. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I don't cherry pick it, and people do.
Well, what about this time is different? Just to remind people, and these are the past couple of days of front pages of the New York Post, owned by News Corporation, run by Rupert Murdoch, who, of course, overall oversees Fox Business as well and all of Fox. This is a message, hope for gun control. Mr. President, please act. I'm just beginning to wonder if maybe this time is different, or am I completely off base here?
God knows, Liz, I hope you're right. I hope it is different. But how many American children and law-abiding adults have to die from bullets fired by the same weapon over and over again?
Well,
the
what's
AR-15.
interesting too, again, the gun stocks, or the gun stock that makes the AR-15 American Outdoor Brands, is now down today. Usually, when there are calls to eliminate these stocks go up, but down, I guess, over the past year, 47%. For American Outdoor Brands, and even BlackRock, one of the biggest asset managers, is saying Maybe this time is different. They want to meet with the company to find out. Colonel, last word on this?
Yeah, well, I certainly don't want to put gun companies out of business. I believe in sporting arms for hunting, for target shooting. Some people are just collectors. That's all good. But not military-grade weapons, and none of this faking it about saying, well, they're only semi-automatic. They can be modified. You can use bump stocks. Weapons that are meant to kill human beings.
He said that today. We're going to get rid of bump stocks.
I hope so, but it has to go farther. I own weapons. I hope I will always own weapons, but I don't own weapons that are meant to kill other human beings specifically.
Colonel Ralph Peters, his op-ed is on NewYorkPost.com. Read it, whether you're against it or for it. It's an interesting perspective from somebody who's pro-Second Amendment. Thank you very much.